Guantanamo, a place that has become a symbol of human rights abuses. For 13 years, the U.S. naval base in Cuba has held up to 780 detainees, prisoners of the so-called global war on terror. But Guantanamo is also the U.S.'s only permanent overseas base in the Americas. Sailors and Marines stationed here also respond to natural disasters and go after drug dealers and human traffickers. Havana wants the land back, but the Obama administration opposes the idea.
No anticipation and no plan with respect to the Guantanamo Bay Naval Station in Cuba.
The U.S. has troops deployed all around the world, but there's only one country where U.S. forces are permanently deployed against the wishes of the host government, Cuba. The Americans have controlled the Deepwater Bay and 45 square miles of land on Cuba's southeastern end since 1903, a gain from the Spanish-American War. The U.S. started paying rent, currently about $4,000 a year. But in the 1960s, Fidel Castro stopped cashing the checks and called on the Americans to leave. In most respects, Guantanamo looks like any other military base. Sand-colored cinder block buildings, a department store, a recreation program, and other amenities for the troops and their families. But on the far southeastern side of the island stand at least 3 prisons which now hold the men captured in the years after the September 11th attacks. The U.S. needs to resolve the long-term status of these prisoners before anything can happen to the base. And analysts say the U.S. needs to look at the long-term trajectory of its relationship with Havana and with the region.
There are a lot of hurdles to getting this done, but I think it should be considered. I think that the United States has a historical debt it owes Cuba on this front. Clearly, the terms of the initial agreement were unfair, unbalanced at a different time in history, and I think it will factor into the normalization process. It's just not a front burner issue. It's a back burner issue.
Normalization will take time, and it's fair to assume the U.S. will try to find a way to hold on to Guantanamo. But in what form and with what facilities may come down to what the Cubans will ultimately accept. Rosalind Jordan, Al Jazeera, Washington.